Okay, I'm going to be real with you all right now because what just happened to Rihanna has me genuinely shook, and I know a lot of you are sitting there thinking the exact same thing I'm thinking. We're being told this is just another crazy fan situation, just another unstable person who got too obsessed with a celebrity and decided to act on it. But the more you dig into this story, the more things start looking a little too convenient, a little too clean, and a whole lot more sinister than what they want us to believe. And yes, the industry defenders are absolutely losing their minds in my comments trying to spin this into something simple, but we're not going to let that narrative take over today. Because what happened on March 8, 2026, wasn't just some random incident. This was a calculated attack on one of the most powerful women in entertainment, and it happened while she was sitting in a trailer on her own property with her 3 children, her partner ASAP Rocky, and her own mother. 10 shots from an AR-15 style rifle ripped through that property in broad daylight in Beverly Hills, one of the most expensive and heavily monitored zip codes in America. And we're supposed to believe this was just a lone wolf who snapped? Hold on, say it with me. Now, let's talk about what they don't want you to see. Because from the moment this story broke, KATT Williams' name started trending harder than Rihanna'S. And if you've been paying attention to what KATT has been saying for years about how this industry really operates, about how nothing is ever really an accident, about how when artists get too powerful or too independent, suddenly things start happening to them, then you know exactly why his clips are going massively viral right now. From the bizarre details surrounding the shooter, to the Live Nation connection that nobody in the mainstream media wants to touch, to the dispatch audio that described a completely different person behind the wheel, we're going to break down every single piece of this story that doesn't add up. And if you're ready to see how deep this rabbit hole goes, leave that like right now because we're covering the shooting itself, the suspect's disturbing online history, the KATT Williams framework that predicted exactly this kind of situation, how Live Nation might be connected to all of this, and why Rihanna being this powerful might have made her a target. We have so much to get into today. We can't waste another second. There's too much to cover. Let's get into this right now. So let's start with the facts, because the facts alone are already wild enough before we even get into the theories. March 8, 2026. Beverly Hills, California. A woman named Ivana Ortiz, 35 years old, allegedly a speech therapist from Orlando, Florida, drives a white Tesla up to Rihanna's mansion and unloads up to 10 rounds from an AR-15 style semi-automatic rifle at the property. This is not a warning shot. This is not some rock thrown over a fence or some angry fan yelling from the sidewalk. This woman allegedly emptied a high-powered rifle at a family home in one of the most expensive, most heavily secured neighborhoods in the entire country. And here's the part that should make your stomach drop. Rihanna and ASAP Rocky were not inside the main house when this happened. They were in an Airstream trailer parked in the driveway. Let me repeat that. They were inside a metal trailer, and multiple bullets struck that trailer directly. The Los Angeles District Attorney confirmed this in a press conference. They were inside it when the shooting started. Their 3 kids, RZA, Riot, and their youngest baby, were on the same property. Rihanna's mother was there too. 8 people total were on that property when those shots were fired. Now, Rihanna has had stalker issues before. She's dealt with trespassers, break-ins, people showing up at her homes. This is not new for her. But this is the first time someone allegedly showed up with a semi-automatic rifle and opened fire in broad daylight while her children were present. That changes everything. Because up until now, these incidents were invasive, they were scary, but they weren't life-threatening in this way. This was attempted murder. The DA charged Ivana Ortiz with 1 count of attempted murder, 10 counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm, and 3 counts of shooting at an inhabited dwelling. Her bail was set at over $10 million. And the mainstream media immediately said, unstable fan. Lone wolf. Case closed. But not everyone is buying that story. Because right as the news broke, KATT Williams' interview clips started going massively viral. And what he said in those clips about how the music industry silences artists, about how accidents aren't really accidents, about how when these things happen, somebody at the top always benefits financially, it had people asking a very different kind of question. Was this really just a random woman acting on delusions? Or was she just the face put in front of something far bigger? So who is this woman who allegedly drove from Florida to Beverly Hills with a rifle? The media quickly pointed to her social media, and honestly, it's disturbing to read. Ivana Ortiz had been posting obsessively about Rihanna for months. She called her a witch. She called her a thief of energies. She held a 60-day daily prayer session on her YouTube channel where she talked about spiritual warfare, about the devil, about enemies who want to destroy beautiful things. In one video, she said, "There is someone who wants to kill you." And then she told her audience that Rihanna was the enemy she was referring to. On Facebook, she posted directly at Rihanna's account, calling her out by name, saying she was waiting for her to say something. In December 2025, she wrote that she was already through with Rihanna. She also went after Kim Kardashian in the same breath. On the surface, this reads like a textbook celebrity stalker case, and plenty of celebrities have dealt with exactly this. Ariana Grande, Justin Bieber, Rosie O'Donnell. It happens. But here's where it starts to get strange. Her estranged husband, Jed Valdez, revealed that as far back as January 26th, over a month before the shooting, Ortiz had sent him an email demanding that he renounce Rihanna so that a door can be closed. So this wasn't a sudden snap. This was allegedly planned. The question is, by whom? And here's the detail that sent the internet into full conspiracy mode. When first responders arrived at the scene and began tracking the white Tesla, the initial LAPD dispatch audio described the person in the driver's seat as a Hispanic male. Let that sink in. Not a woman. A man. Ivana Ortiz, the person currently in custody and charged, is a woman. So if the dispatch audio is accurate, who was the man behind the wheel when that car first fled? Now, the police haven't made much of this publicly. Maybe there was a miscommunication. Maybe a witness got it wrong in the chaos of the moment. But in a case where every other detail has been carefully documented, the number of shots, the trajectory of the bullets, the exact time of the 911 call, why is this particular detail just being allowed to quietly disappear? There's also the question of the box braids. Ortiz appeared in her mugshot with a fresh set of box braids, a style that typically requires 8 to 10 hours in a salon chair. If this was supposed to be a sudden mental break, when did she find the time to sit in the salon right before allegedly committing a premeditated shooting? And why? These are small details. But in a case where we're told this was just one unstable woman acting alone, these small details start adding up to a very different picture. Now here's where KATT Williams comes in, and why his old clips are suddenly getting millions of views again. For years, KATT Williams has been one of the loudest voices warning about how the music industry really operates. Most people laughed at him, called him unhinged, said he'd lost his mind. But then the Diddy scandal broke, and everything Williams had been saying for years about secret parties, dark contracts, and how the industry disposes of people who become liabilities started looking a lot less crazy. In one of his resurfaced interviews, Williams breaks down what he calls the economics of artist removal. He says that when high-earning artists get killed or neutralized, somebody at the top of the corporate ladder wins. Contracts disappear. Royalties don't have to be paid. The brand lives on. But the human being doesn't. He argues that in this industry, you are not a person. You are an asset. And when an asset becomes inconvenient, allegedly, the industry has ways of handling that. He also talked about how these incidents are designed to look random. A mentally unstable person. A tragic accident. A fan who went too far. But underneath, Williams claims, there's always a financial beneficiary. Now, did KATT Williams ever specifically name Rihanna in this context? Not in any verified clip. But the framework he laid out years ago maps almost perfectly onto what people are now applying to this case. That's why his name is all over this story. And listen, I'm not saying KATT Williams is a prophet. I'm not saying he predicted this exact incident. But what I am saying is that he's been consistently warning about patterns in this industry that keep repeating themselves. And when you look at Rihanna's situation, when you look at how powerful she's become, when you look at how independent she is from the traditional music industry machine, you start to see why people are asking whether this was really just a random attack. Okay, this is the part of the story that even skeptics have trouble dismissing with a shrug. Investigators and online researchers digging into Ivana Ortiz's background discovered something that the mainstream news barely covered. Ortiz allegedly had an active legal dispute involving Live Nation, the same entertainment conglomerate that manages and promotes Rihanna's touring business through Roc Nation. In October 2025, someone named Ivana Ortiz filed an emergency petition for temporary injunction relief against Live Nation, the city of Orlando, and the Kia Center related to a Billie Eilish concert. According to court records, Ortiz alleged that she would suffer immediate and irreparable harm if Billie Eilish's concert proceeded due to noise concerns and traffic issues. She also expressed concern over whether a noise waiver had been filed. She asked the court to issue an injunction to stop the concert from happening. In one document, Ortiz said the amount of the claim would be worth $75,000 to $100,000. The court dismissed the claim weeks later. Now, on the surface, this looks like just another example of Ortiz being unstable and litigious. But let's put that in context. At the time of the shooting, the United States Department of Justice had an ongoing antitrust case against Live Nation, one of the biggest legal battles the music industry had ever seen. This case threatened the business model of the most powerful concert and ticketing empire in the world. Theorists, including those drawing on KATT Williams' framework, suggest that artists like Rihanna, who are central figures in Roc Nation's operations, could allegedly be considered key assets or even potential witnesses in a corporate legal war this big. And in a war that big, even a warning sent through a third party would carry an enormous amount of power. Now, the Live Nation connection doesn't prove a conspiracy. But it does make the random fan story a lot harder to accept at face value. Think about the timeline of Rihanna's career for a second. She came up through Jay-Z and Roc Nation. She's built a $1.4 billion empire with Fenty Beauty and Savage X Fenty. She's moved from artist to mogul, which means she's no longer just a product. She's a competitor. She has leverage. She has independence. And in an industry built on control, independence is allegedly threatening. KATT Williams has long argued that when artists reach a certain level, when they stop needing the machine as much as the machine needs them, that's when things start happening. Prince fought with his label and started writing "slave" on his face. Michael Jackson was preparing to expose industry corruption before he died. Now Rihanna, one of the most powerful women in entertainment, has bullets hitting her trailer while her babies are inside. Is that a coincidence? Maybe. Probably even. But KATT Williams built his entire reputation on asking, who benefits when this happens? And in Rihanna's case, the answer to that question is not simple. Rihanna hasn't released a studio album since 2016. She's been focused on her business empire, on her family, on building wealth outside of the traditional music industry structure. She doesn't need a record label the way she used to. She doesn't need touring the way she used to. She's financially independent in a way that very few artists ever achieve. And if you believe what KATT Williams has been saying for years, that kind of independence allegedly makes you dangerous to the people who profit from keeping artists dependent. Let's go back to that dispatch audio for a second, because this is the detail that keeps nagging at people who are paying close attention. When the LAPD first responded to the scene, the initial description of the suspect vehicle and driver was clear. A white Tesla. And the person behind the wheel was described as a Hispanic male. Now, Ivana Ortiz is a woman. So if the dispatch audio is accurate, and there's no reason to believe it isn't because dispatch audio is recorded in real time and is generally considered highly reliable, then who was the man behind the wheel when that car first fled the scene? The police haven't addressed this publicly. The mainstream media hasn't pressed them on it. And the official narrative has moved forward as if this detail doesn't exist. But it does exist. And in a case this high profile, in a case where every other detail has been meticulously documented and presented to the public, the fact that this particular detail is just being quietly ignored is suspicious. Was there a second person in the car? Did Ortiz have an accomplice? Did someone drop her off and then flee? We don't know. And the fact that we don't know, the fact that nobody in a position of authority seems interested in clarifying this, is exactly the kind of thing that fuels conspiracy theories. And I mean, I get it. Sometimes in the chaos of a crime scene, witnesses get details wrong. Sometimes dispatch gets information that turns out to be inaccurate. But this isn't a minor detail. This is a description of the person allegedly fleeing the scene of an attempted murder. That's not something you just shrug off. KATT Williams has been saying for years that the music industry operates on a very simple principle. You are valuable as long as you are controllable. And the moment you stop being controllable, the moment you start asking too many questions or making too many demands or building too much power outside of the system, allegedly, that's when things start happening to you. Now, I'm not saying that's definitely what happened here. I'm not saying Rihanna was targeted by the industry because she became too powerful. But I am saying that the pattern KATT Williams has been describing for years fits this situation almost perfectly. And in a post-Diddy world, where we've seen the documents, where we've read the depositions, where we've watched the federal agents walk through those mansions, and we now know beyond any reasonable doubt that powerful people in this industry have done extraordinarily dark things for decades, the public's trust in the official narrative is at an all-time low. These were also once called conspiracy theories. People said KATT Williams was crazy when he talked about industry parties where unspeakable things happened. They said he was exaggerating when he talked about contracts that trap artists. They said he was paranoid when he talked about how the industry handles people who become liabilities. And then the Diddy case broke, and suddenly all of those conspiracy theories started looking a whole lot more like documented reality. So when KATT Williams says nothing in this industry is random, it doesn't land the same way it did 5 years ago. When he says that when these things happen, somebody always benefits financially, people are listening now in a way they weren't before. Because we've seen it happen. We've seen the pattern play out over and over again. Let's be real with each other for a second. Here's what we actually know for certain. 1. Ivana Ortiz allegedly drove to Rihanna's Beverly Hills home and fired multiple shots with a semi-automatic rifle. That is confirmed. 2. Rihanna, ASAP Rocky, and their family were on the property at the time. Confirmed. 3. Ortiz had months of documented online obsession with Rihanna. Confirmed. 4. She is facing attempted murder charges and could face life in prison. Confirmed. Here's what is not confirmed. Any direct connection between Ortiz and a music industry conspiracy. No corporate fingerprints. No evidence of a handler. No proof beyond the dispatch audio anomaly that anyone else was involved. The LAPD says there is no evidence of a broader conspiracy, and that may well be the truth. But here's the problem with just stopping there. We live in a post-Diddy world. We've seen the documents. We've read the depositions. We've watched the federal agents walk through those mansions, and we now know beyond any reasonable doubt that powerful people in this industry have done extraordinarily dark things for decades. So when the official narrative has holes in it, a possible second person in the car, a suspicious Live Nation connection, a meticulously prepared shooter who somehow allegedly snapped, people are going to fill those holes with questions. That's not irresponsible. That's paying attention. One of the things that keeps coming up in discussions about this case is the level of premeditation involved. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. Ortiz allegedly drove from Florida to California. She allegedly brought a semi-automatic rifle with her. She allegedly had fresh box braids done, which takes hours. She allegedly sent her estranged husband an email over a month before the shooting demanding that he renounce Rihanna. All of this suggests planning. All of this suggests that whatever was going through Ortiz's mind, it wasn't a sudden break. It was allegedly building for months. And when you combine that level of premeditation with the Live Nation connection, with the dispatch audio describing a different person, with the timing of this happening while Rihanna is at the peak of her power and independence, there's just a crazy fan explanation starts to feel insufficient. Now, does that mean there was definitely a conspiracy? No. Does it mean Ortiz was definitely working with someone else? No. But it does mean that the questions people are asking aren't coming from nowhere. They're coming from a pattern of details that don't quite fit the neat narrative we're being sold. KATT Williams didn't build his credibility by being completely wrong. He built it by being the one person in the room willing to say the uncomfortable thing out loud and then watching the world eventually catch up to him. When he talked about Diddy's parties years ago, people laughed. When the Diddy case broke, those same people went silent. When he talked about how the industry traps artists in contracts that destroy their lives, people dismissed him. And then we watched artist after artist come forward with stories that confirmed exactly what he'd been saying. So when KATT Williams says that nothing in this industry is random, when he says that when high-profile incidents happen, there's always a financial beneficiary, people are listening now in a way they weren't before. Because his track record has been proven right too many times to ignore. And listen, I'm not saying KATT Williams is perfect. I'm not saying every single thing he's ever said is gospel truth. But I am saying that his framework for understanding how this industry operates has been validated over and over again. And when you apply that framework to what allegedly happened to Rihanna, the questions start multiplying. We have to talk about why the public's trust in the official narrative is at an all-time low. It's not just because of KATT Williams. It's because of what we've seen happen over the past few years. The Diddy case exposed decades of alleged abuse, manipulation, and control. The R. Kelly case showed us how the industry allegedly protected a predator for years. The Britney Spears conservatorship revealed how allegedly artists can be trapped and exploited by the very people who are supposed to protect them. And those are just the cases that made it to court. How many others are there that we don't know about? How many artists have been silenced, controlled, or allegedly eliminated because they became too powerful or knew too much? KATT Williams has been saying for years that the industry operates on fear and control, and every major scandal that breaks seems to confirm that. So when something like this happens to Rihanna, one of the most powerful and independent women in entertainment, people aren't just accepting the official story anymore. They're asking questions. They're looking for patterns. They're connecting dots. And whether those connections are real or imagined, the fact that so many people are asking the same questions tells you something about where we are as a culture right now. Ivana Ortiz is currently being held on over $10 million bail. She's facing 1 count of attempted murder, 10 counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm, and 3 counts of shooting at an inhabited dwelling. If convicted on all counts, she could face life in prison. Her lawyer initially entered a plea of not guilty on her behalf, but then asked for her arraignment to be postponed until March 25th. Now, the question everyone is asking is whether Ortiz will take a plea deal or whether this will go to trial. If it goes to trial, we'll get to see all the evidence. We'll get to hear from witnesses. We'll get answers to some of the questions that are currently unanswered. But if she takes a plea deal, a lot of this will remain sealed, and we may never know the full story. And that's where the conspiracy theories really start to take hold. Because if this case gets resolved quietly with a plea deal, if Ortiz gets sentenced without a full public trial, people are going to assume there's something being hidden. They're going to assume that the full story isn't being told. And whether that's fair or not, that's the reality of where we are right now. Rihanna has reportedly fled Los Angeles over safety concerns. She hasn't made any public statements about the shooting. She hasn't posted on social media. She's gone completely silent, and honestly, that's probably the smartest thing she could do right now. Because anything she says will be analyzed, dissected, and used against her in some way. But her silence also leaves a vacuum, and in that vacuum, theories and speculation rush in to fill the space. People want to know how she's feeling. They want to know if she's scared. They want to know if she believes this was really just a random fan or if she suspects something more. And without her voice in the conversation, all we have are the facts, the questions, and the theories. And I mean, I genuinely hope Rihanna and her family are okay. I hope they're safe. I hope this was just a terrible, isolated incident and nothing more. But I also understand why so many people are skeptical of that explanation. Because the more you dig into this story, the more things don't quite add up. One of the things this case has highlighted is just how vulnerable even the most powerful celebrities are. Rihanna lives in Beverly Hills, one of the most secure neighborhoods in the world. She has security. She has resources. And yet someone was still allegedly able to drive up to her property and open fire in broad daylight. If it can happen to her, it can happen to anyone. And that raises a bigger question about celebrity safety in the age of social media. Because platforms like Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok make it easier than ever for obsessed fans to feel like they have a personal connection to celebrities. They can watch their every move. They can track their locations. They can convince themselves that they have a relationship that doesn't actually exist. And when that parasocial relationship turns dark, when that obsession turns violent, the results can be catastrophic. We've seen it happen before. John Lennon was killed by an obsessed fan. Selena was killed by the president of her fan club. Christina Grimmie was shot by a fan at a meet and greet. And now Rihanna, one of the biggest stars on the planet, allegedly had bullets ripping through her property while her children were inside. This is not a new problem, but it's getting worse. Let's talk about why conspiracy theories take hold so easily in cases like this. It's not just because people are gullible or paranoid. It's because the official narratives we're given so often turn out to be incomplete or outright false. We were told Jeffrey Epstein's operation was just about one man. Then we found out it allegedly involved dozens of powerful people. We were told the music industry was clean. Then Diddy got arrested. We were told artists were in control of their own careers. Then we learned about conservatorship and exploitative contracts. So when the official story about Rihanna's shooting has holes in it, when there are unanswered questions and suspicious details, people don't just accept it anymore. They dig deeper. They ask questions. They look for patterns. And whether those patterns are real or imagined, the fact that so many people are looking for them tells you something important about the state of trust in our institutions right now. KATT Williams has built his entire career on being the person who asks those uncomfortable questions. And in a world where those questions keep turning out to be valid, where the conspiracy theories of yesterday keep becoming the documented scandals of today, people are listening to him in a way they never have before. So where does that leave us? Rihanna is alive. Her family is safe. Ivana Ortiz is in custody and facing the full weight of the law. The LAPD says there is no evidence of a broader conspiracy, and that may well be the truth. But KATT Williams didn't build his credibility by being completely wrong. He built it by being the one person in the room willing to say the uncomfortable thing out loud and then watching the world eventually catch up to him. The question this case is really forcing us to ask isn't whether Ivana Ortiz is guilty. She almost certainly is. The question is whether she acted entirely alone. Whether the neat, packaged, lone, unstable fan story explains all the details. The mystery driver. The premeditation. The Live Nation tie. The carefully planned escape route. Maybe it does. Maybe this really is just a deeply troubled woman who fixated on a celebrity and allegedly snapped. That happens. It's tragic when it does. But in an industry where the cover-up is often more valuable than the crime itself, where we've seen time and time again that the official story isn't always the full story, is probably just a crazy fan really good enough for us anymore? In a post-Diddy world, where we know that powerful people in this industry have done extraordinarily dark things for decades, where we've seen the documents and read the depositions and watched the federal agents walk through those mansions, can we really just accept the simplest explanation and move on? I'm not saying I have all the answers. I'm not saying there's definitely a conspiracy here. But I am saying that the questions people are asking aren't coming from nowhere. They're coming from a pattern of details that don't quite fit. They're coming from a framework that KATT Williams laid out years ago that keeps proving to be accurate. They're coming from a deep distrust of institutions that have repeatedly lied to us. And honestly, between everything that's happened with Rihanna and everything we've learned about how this industry really operates, I'm a little exhausted from all the nonsense we're seeing. But we're going to keep digging. We're going to keep asking questions. We're going to keep breaking down these stories and looking for the truth, even when the truth is uncomfortable or inconvenient. Because that's what this channel is about. We don't just accept the official narrative. We dig deeper. We ask the questions nobody else wants to ask. We look at the details everyone else wants to ignore. And we trust our audience to be smart enough to think critically and come to their own conclusions. We're going to be covering more on this story as it develops. We're going to be breaking down the rest of the details and all of their implications very soon. And if you want to see how the industry's pattern of allegedly silencing powerful artists connects to other recent cases, check out the video on your end screen right now. And if you're part of the family, you already know what to do.